Former Speaker of the House Tip O'Neill said all politics is local. He recognized that the real power and influence are local, intimate. Our nation is no stronger than the numerous local communities which comprise it. The same applies to our state. It is a performance of our duties in our localized governments that teaches us prudence, efficiency, and charity, which are the principles on which FSPAR was founded. Despite being retired from investment banking and venture capital, I still very much embrace the principles of free enterprise and capitalism. Most of my time was spent doing startups and turnarounds. This meant I had to be revenue driven and profit motivated, which is totally overlooked in government. Nonprofits and government still have to focus on efficiency and effectiveness, which are crucial to survival, which is why I founded FSPAR. My involvement with politics started when I considered running for county commission. As a capitalist, I embodied what Senator Everett Dickerson said relative to principles. I am a man of many fixed and unbending principles, the first of which is to be flexible at all times. Now I embrace what Aaron Tippin sang about. You have to stand for something or you'll fall for anything. Ladies and gentlemen, my home county, Jefferson County, the state of Alabama, and our nation are all facing their respective tsunamis. The problems, for the most part, stem from mismanagement, hypocrisy, inequality, and nepotism. My home county, Jefferson County, may become the nation's largest municipal bankruptcy because of corruption and past and present improper management and lack of fiscal prudence. Basically, Jefferson County is where it is financially due to the lack of fiscal stewardship. Relative to the state, we are in proration. We have inefficiencies and we are bleeding. We are wasting the taxpayers' money. There's a lot of talk, but no true problem-solving action being taken to stop the bleeding. We have cash, but we're not broke yet. The state has a healthcare tsunami heading its way, in which I will detail later on. Another problem is voter nepotism, which to understand, you must first understand that government is no different than business. The executive branch is management. The legislative branch, the House and the Senate, are the board of directors. And we, the people, the taxpayers, are the stockholders, the owners. We can't blame legislators, members of the House and Senate, for fiscal dilemmas. Their ultimate responsibility is oversight. They are the board of directors. Ultimate responsibility lies in the executive branch, the CEO. The CEO of the state of Alabama is the governor. The CEO of our nation is the president. The executive branch implements policy, that which the legislature enacts. Simply put, a good legislator does not necessarily make a good chief executive. No more than a good player makes a good coach. So what are the problems? In my home county of Jefferson County, the problems stem from mismanagement where politicians are trying to be business people. Jefferson County lacks efficiency and shared sacrifice. For example, there is no county purchasing office where any and all purchasing is done, where purchasing of every good and service used by the county is centralized and standardized, and where economies of scale is recognized and money is saved. Moreover, there is an absence of shared sacrifice where everyone from the top down tightens their belt and takes a pay cut. Instead, we just whack people, toss them out like garbage. Those that are left, we ask them to work harder for less money, while the commissioners and their staffs do not take a pay cut whatsoever. In addition, the county attorney's office, the county's internal legal department, is grossly ineffective and a financial cancer. For example, this department has a lead attorney who makes more than $400,000 a year in wages alone. Ladies and gentlemen, let me put this to you in a proper context. That is more than the President of the United States. And all of the attorneys in this department, with the exception of one, make more than $250,000 a year, which is more than the state Attorney General Luther Strange and his predecessor, and the U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder make. All of these attorneys get a guaranteed, by county resolution, 5% annual increase with no pay ceilings whatsoever, while all of the other county employees have their pay frozen, reduced, or capped, which when compounded means that these attorneys, their salary doubles every 10 years. Moreover, all of these attorneys must not practice law because this department has spent almost $30 million in outside legal fees in the past decade. Albert Einstein defined insanity as doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. The state of Alabama has many problems, both immediate and long term, both real costs and opportunity costs. For example, the state has over 186 agencies, all independent kingdoms, doing their own things, spending their budgets as department heads and supervisors see fit, with total disregard for economies of scale and what is in the best interest of you, the people. There is no centralized purchasing like a state purchasing department, where purchasing of anything and everything, any and all goods and services used throughout the state is done, where no department, nor agency, nor branch does its own purchasing, whereby the state gets the very best unit pricing, which is achieved through standardizing and collective bargaining. Once everything is centralized, it can be standardized, and the state purchasing department would create a master list. Then if an agency or department or branch has a need for something not on the master list, a request can be submitted explaining why it is needed and why what is on the list is not sufficient, along with an expected quantity to be used during the course of a year. Basically justify the request. For example, there are two kinds of legal pads: 8.5 by 11, 8.5 by 14. Yet I can assure you that some state offices are buying white legal pads, some are buying yellow legal pads, some are buying one brand, some are buying another brand. We need to become Henry Ford You can have that legal pad in any quantity or size you want as long as it's the state legal pad. The same thing you did with cars. You can have that car in any color you want as long as it's black. Another example is ink pens. Walk through any government office and you'll see every kind of pen known to man. We need to narrow it down to here is one blue pen for the state, one black pen for the state, and one red pen for the state. By centralizing all purchasing, the state can standardize supplies, for example. Then we can negotiate based on the total number of legal pads, for example, to be used by the state in a year and get a great price based on that one big number. This is known as collective bargaining. As you can see, collective bargaining is not just for labor. To understand efficiencies and bleeders, think of a house on fire. Fire department comes out and is spraying water on the fire. The only problem is they need more water coming out of the hose because their hose has holes in it. So what's the solution? Do you force more water through the hose, thereby leaking more water? Or do you plug up the holes, the bleeders, the inefficiencies, and eliminate the waste? By the same token, to understand how small bleeding here and there adds up, think about a parking meter, which only takes nickels, dimes, and quarters. A single parking meter combined with its fellow parking meters are a noticeable contributor to revenue for a municipality. Simply put, those nickels, dimes, and quarters add up. The same applies to savings, a little here, a little there, it all adds up. Let me give you some examples of inefficiencies and bleeders. We want our police to have the very best cars. One way to keep expenses down with these cars is to rebuild the engines, yet you can only do that one time. But even after that, and you have to retire that car as a police cruiser, it still has value as transportation. I would send that vehicle to any one of the state vocational colleges, let the auto tech students retrofit that car, and introduce that car into the state motor pool as transportation. Instead of buying these agencies and departments new cars. The police is the only department or agency that needs the very best vehicles. The same applies to the HVAC services. Several of the state vocational colleges teach HVAC. I would let these students service the HVAC systems, obviously supervised, throughout the state.